the screen on. The screen for me is going to be the Hollywood Squares. So Darcy, introduce yourself to these other five and give them a little background where you and I met.
All right. Hello, my name's Darcy Turtling. I am originally from Idaho. My family has an AGCO dealership out there in Idaho and Washington. I've met a couple of you people. Caleb, I think I met.
We met at Farm Progress.
I was going to say, I at least saw you again at Farm Progress. And right now I'm interning with AGCO headquarters under marketing, specifically marketing events. It's kind of got my foot in the door. I like the marketing, so we'll see where it goes from there. And I met Russ through AGCO, and I think we had met before a couple weeks ago, but I can't remember.
Yeah, George would have been there as well. You were helping us out with a meeting that AGCO was calling a mindset meeting. And
Yeah.
we were both there. And since then, Darcy, George has conducted a second meeting in Chicago in the same manner. So George is a gentleman here behind the phone headset in his car driving across central Vermont. All right. I'm going to go, I'll try and go alphabetical if my Iowa public education helps me. Austin, you're number one. Introduce yourself to Darcy and say hi. Where are you and what are you doing this today?
Austin Swayston. I work at Full Line Ag. We have multi-store farm equipment dealerships, AGCO full lines across Saskatchewan and Canada. Darcy, we've met, like we talked about earlier. Today I'm on the road. I'm going and pricing big 9 series Fendt tractors to guys. And the last guy I talked to, he politely told me to piss off because I was pretty expensive. He was a little sticker shocked.
State of your values. And I know how your dad would handle that. He'd come back at that guy pretty hard, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
I bet he would. All right, Caleb, I'm going to ask you to be second.
Yeah, like we said, Darcy, we met at Farm Progress show, but work at Precision Planting, and that's where I'm at today. I actually had several interviews. We're in the process of growing our team quite a bit, so talent acquisition is pretty high on my priorities right now. So trying to get as many interviews in before today, which is actually my wife is going to be having a baby tonight. So we are, perfect timing too. Right before harvest. It's or kind of during harvest. Terrible timing on my part, but yeah. So we're here at Precision, and we've got the full teams back in house after being scattered throughout the summer, and so then I'll probably go jump in a combine for a couple hours, then drive my wife to the hospital.
You're gonna wait a minute. Your wife's on the way to the hospital, have your second child, and you're gonna go jump in a gleaner combine.
She's not at the hospital yet. I'm gonna take her there after I get out of the combine. That's
it's so you. It's absolutely so you that I'm not going to go any further with this. George and I get excited about mowing the lawn and walking the dog, and you say, well, you're just going to go have a baby tonight. I think I'll do that. Right. All right, Cam, introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, good afternoon. So I'm Cameron Camfield, located in Columbus, Ohio. I'm the founder of Strativation Group, and I'll keep it short, but we support the agri-food value chain through research, consulting, and advertising services. This week I was in Denver Monday, Tuesday. I'm at the home office for the day, which I'm excited about, and then we'll be headed over to Farm Science Review tomorrow. So grateful to be here.
How warm is it in Columbus today?
Honestly, I don't think I've been outside other than to let the dogs out. So I couldn't tell you.
95 in the bluegrass, and those people working that show out there at London would just be cooked today.
I believe it. It was 90 in Denver the last 2 days, but then I think there's a big cold front coming through here.
It's gonna drop 20 degrees tonight. 20 degrees tonight. It'll make it actually. In fact, I think what is it today or tomorrow? The first day of fall, guys.
Tomorrow is.
Yeah, tomorrow's first day of fall, so it should start feeling that way. All right, Erica, do we still call you Miss Harms, or is it? And give us the last name.
Well, yeah, I just got married a couple weeks ago, so the new last name is Coulter, but it just depends on the day what I go by because we got to go on our honeymoon before I get all the legal documentation switched. So, but nice to meet you, Darcy. Welcome to the group. I work with Mitchell Equipment, which is a Case IH dealership out of North Central and Northeastern Nebraska. We've got 2 stores. I've been with them for 2 years. I work in sales admin and then marketing as well.
And Erica, not unlike Taylor, who's not here with us today in the Wisconsin dealership, but had an experience in Kansas City with John Deere before joining the dealership, right, Erica?
Yep. Yeah. I went through John Deere's marketing rep program, did an internship, got my foot in the door. So I would imagine it would be a similar experience to what you're going through. So learn all you can. There's lots of good stuff out there.
George and a couple of our colleagues work with Erica and some of her dealership colleagues and others from Nebraska all the way to the New York State in one of our group 20s, which we call performance dealer groups. And the Mitchell group with the 2 stores in central Nebraska make a great contribution. They're doing some things that are a step above. All right. I see that Mitchell must have had, here he comes. All right, your turn, Mitchell. It's best to last.
I'm back. I'm Mitchell Hora. I'm 7th generation on my family's farm in southeast Iowa. Yeah, I was hoping to be in the combine right now, but it's starting to sprinkle and more rain coming. So I'm hand harvesting some of my other corn. This is open pollinated. I've got a red corn and a gold corn from my Iowa State Cyclones, and we're selling it direct to consumer. It's food grade, non-GMO heritage corn, a little pet project we got going on. So we need more of it to get it done up and selling direct to consumer. So playing around with that right now. But what I actually do is I'm the founder and CEO of Continuum Ag. We're a soil health data intelligence company, helping farmers navigate regenerative ag systems. We build a software to help scale that up globally, and helping farmers navigate regenerative ag, carbon, sustainability. We're the agronomy how-to.
The peak of your group, when you make your interns in place in the summer, Mitchell, Continuum Ag is what, 15, 18 people?
No, we were 24 this summer. We're at 23 right now.
And produce and have business in how many states and how many countries?
38 states and 16 countries.
Who does that? Who does that a decade out of school? And you're not gonna tell me you're gonna go home and have a child tonight, are you? You're good with one right now?
No, yeah. Got the one that's 10 months old. So it'd be a little quick if the second one was coming already. So, but no, definitely was laughing at the story there because
I thought that's pretty sweet. Pretty sweet the way you got that Iowa State plug in there too, by the way.
Got to have my Iowa State corn undefeated.
Yeah.
We got to keep it going.
Yeah, you can introduce yourself to the next probably Nebraska football coach.
Yeah, there you go.
All right, good. All right, guys, very good. I didn't miss it. George, we can't see you, but go ahead and remind Darcy your background and what you're doing today. And in fact, George, start the contribution as to what you where you spent time this afternoon.
So I took Russ on this same trip I'm doing right this afternoon from the Vermont Youth Conservation Corps, which is a 35-year-old company, nonprofit here in Vermont that employs a lot of people right out of high school, and sometimes their first job. We're the premier trail builder in New England, but as they expanded into their healthcare shares programs, they needed a new tractor, so we helped them get a tractor and a new one. And then my father's 50-year-old International B414 we gave to them. So I was participating in every Wednesday we package up fresh food in boxes for 400 plus families in Vermont. So it's a nice connection of growing the food and then supplying it through various agencies, but also the medical system. So in Vermont, doctors can actually prescribe fresh food. I'm driving now to our 8th generation farm in New Haven with my brothers. We've got to sort out some things with an old barn that we got to figure out what we're going to do with. So beautiful fall day here in Vermont. Tourists are starting to show up because the leaves are starting to change. So that's what I'm doing.
George, while you're talking, George, I've just pulled up your website for the youth conservation with a picture of the different board members, and there's a combination here, obviously, of male, female, young and old. Talk about your board. What's the breadth of the board of people that would contribute to something of this nature?
Well, we're actually trying to get a lot more variety on our board. We actually have some alumni on our board, and we do have a good combination in genders, and we're trying to attract people because, like a lot of rural areas, Vermont is losing young people, and we want to be able to attract people from all over the country. Today I was packing, creating boxes with a young woman who came here from South Carolina, and first job, and she just wanted to be somewhere where she could be fulfilled, and we hope that type of model of attracting people to stay here in Vermont is part of it. So that's part of what our mission is as a board, is to create something that attracts young people, and it's oftentimes their first job. So we're getting a lot in workforce development. So the machinery dealers here in Vermont, like anywhere else, need people, and so we're trying to do that and other people. So our mission is really about training and teaching people how to work together and do fulfilling things like growing food and building trails and pulling invasive species and water quality, those types of things here.
Very good, super. All right, I don't want to lose him again. Well, I'll wait till he gets back in his truck. Austin, in Canada, what do you and your family give back to? What do you spend your time doing when you're not selling Fendt tractors?
Saskatoon, they do a bit of community events. Since I've started our produce store, we've done a whole lot more of community events. I've been a lot more involved with sponsoring and spending my time helping out at barrel racing events, at the rodeo ranching stuff right in Purdue, tractor pulls, as well as car show and shines. Stuff to get the community together, have a burger and a pop, and yeah, just Purdue especially. It is a small town. We don't even have a restaurant in it, so whatever we can do to get everyone together and feel like home, that's what we do.
I liken it. You go west of where Erica is in Nebraska, and the density of the population reduces as well. So community work and building community connectivity is really important. And if Erica, if you think it's less dense in Nebraska, central to west Nebraska, you got to go to Purdue, Saskatchewan, and it's beyond belief. But people are great, and you said it probably, and it didn't come very clear through to me, Austin. But one of the things they do at their dealership is that you have a drive night, hot rods, the collectible cars, right? A street night, something of that nature.
Yeah, some old farmer for a while, he was trying to sell me an old truck. He was trying to sell it to my dad. My dad didn't bite, and I was the chump who bought. So I bought this old truck off him, and there's a lot of old hot rod cars and all that. So a good way to get the community together, not focusing on ag as much. We had a show and shine in Purdue, and we had 30 some cars come in from neighboring towns as well as local people, and yeah, it was really good. Just get people together and chat and
when it's cruise night. When it's cruise night at the local hot rod shop, the young and old show up, and then are they ever proud of their vehicles, regardless of what, whether they're pristine showroom condition or whether they're the ones that got the rust on them or that are kind of there's a name.
Kina look.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The tomato group. All right. Mitchell, I don't see your camera, but I want to get you before you get home and get out of the truck. I'm going to let you be next, Mitchell, and then Cam, you'll follow Mitch. And Mitchell may have got out of the truck.
I'm here.
There you go. Here
No,
we
I'm
go.
here. I'm trying to not be too distracted picking my cyclone corn over here. But no, go ahead.
Now we're interested in what you and Tempest do and giving back to the community, because I know that you two are fully engaged as well.
Yeah, a couple different things. I'm on the local Washington County Farm Bureau board. I've been on that for 5 years, almost probably 4 or 5 years. So I've been pretty heavily involved in that, and so advocating, on the local and state level there. We're both, involved in the church stuff as well. We've got a super tiny little Catholic church that we go to that we bring down the average age by a lot. We'll put it that way. So try to be as involved there as we can. She does, obviously my wife owns a dance studio, so a lot of her stuff is very community oriented. They did the kids parade over the weekend. She's involved in other things in the chamber, and just trying to keep giving back that way.
How many young people in the studio, Mitch?
She's up to 215 now. She had 175 a year ago, 135 the year before that. And so actually one of the new projects we're working on there that's not announced yet is we're working on buying a building on the town square in Fairfield. And this building that we're in the process of purchasing to be a new studio space because she needs more room. This building was built in 1839. It's got some character, and pretty cool old building on the square in Fairfield. And looking at doing some restorative projects there. It was the old bank, so it's got
you
really.
You need to talk to our friend. You need to talk to our friend Adam Hinton here in Flemingsburg, Kentucky, because Adam and his family, for their welding school, have refurbished almost 8 stores or 8 buildings in downtown Flemingsburg. And I don't know if he can tell you what to do, but he might tell you what not to do. He might be able to help you out. So I'm going to connect you two guys back up. It's been a while since we've seen Adam. They've bought a 6th location just 25 miles from Lexington. And in doing that, he's pretty busy. He's bought a business and attached it on. So he's been away from us for a while. But yeah, he's in that refurbishing. Some of the things they did in downtown Flemingsburg, which is about an hour outside of Cincinnati, are pretty neat. And you and your wife will have. Now, doesn't Tempest's mother also involved in that a little bit, some way, shape, or form?
She just teaches for her, like in the evening, just dancing. But Tempest has 11 or 12 employees now, so she's got to have a bunch of them to manage all those little kids running around.
Great for you, man.
So,
great for you.
It's neat.
All right, Mr. Camfield, you, and then Caleb, your direction.
Yeah, so on the family side, I am what we like to affectionately refer to as a Y brat. I grew up through the YMCA system. My mom worked in the nonprofits for a lot of years. So in Central Ohio, I've probably grew up at and then eventually worked at, probably 8 of the 12. So we still give a lot back there. She just retired last year, but we ran people helping people campaigns and all type of stuff for them for probably about the last 20 years. On the business side, we tend to focus more of our efforts on ag education events. Ohio Farm Bureau does all kind of great work with that, OABA and a number of others. And so a lot of our kind of giving back right now tends to focus on ag education and supporting other, let's call it broader ag work, whether that's in the little kids on up to collegiate level. But we just think it kind of aligns with the mission. And then the other one I got to call out, our Ohio Farm Bureau puts on an awesome event here with Ohio State has a specialty cancer hospital called the James, and they've run an event called Cultivating a Cure. And it is honestly, it's a really neat Sunday. They get cancer survivors and all these folks together, and it's the intersection of how ag and food and, you know, cancer come together. And Ohio State is unique, and they've got this big ag college and this great cancer resource center. And so it's wild. On a Sunday in the afternoon, you get the C-suite of Nationwide Insurance, anybody in Ohio in ag. This is like an ag royalty event, and they raise a ridiculous amount of money for cancer research. So that's another one we love to support, and we're grateful that it's in our backyard. So.
And we were fortunate in even a small community of only 6,000 people in Southeast Iowa. At one point, I'm sure statistics have changed it, but we were the second smallest community that had a YMCA. And whether you learned to swim, or whether you learned to shoot a BB gun, or whether you had ping pong, whatever it might be, there were things to do at the YMCA, and it was the center of attention. And it really was an extension of, you know, young men and women's Christian association to go in that direction. All right, Mr. Slater.
Yeah, so we kind of have three different categories. First is kind of our family operation, and our families. We like to give back to our church in different ways. Our Lutheran church actually is associated with a Lutheran private school that I grew up in, Good Shepherd. And so we do a lot of community events towards raising funding for Good Shepherd, so that way they can further the mission of creating a strong foundation of faith in young kids' heart, at the same time as giving them a really good foundation for education. And so we participate in their annual auction. We always donate a decent amount of really unique gifts, whether it be coming to the farm for a day, cornhole boards, and then my wife, who has just started her business, which is infant swim rescue, giving that lesson out through that auction. And then that kind of leads into the second area. We've really been promoting community awareness of drowning, children drowning. And so that's been a big thing that's been on our heart, with the amount of pools, ponds, bodies of water that are in our area, and the amount of children that have unfortunately have not made it once they have drowned in those bodies of water. We've really started to talk about the awareness around that and making sure that the children are safe. And that kind of dovetails into my wife's business of infant swim rescue, teaching infants as young as 6 years old to 6 months old to self-rescue themselves if they do fall into a pool or a pond. And it's been a really incredible way to give back to the community and make sure that our children in the community stay safe in that environment.
When Caleb brought this to my attention, I think, didn't your wife start to get involved in it in Atlanta just as you moved and went from Atlanta to back home?
Yeah, so my sister started her children in it. So my nephews and nieces started in it. Jordan got interested in it when we were in Atlanta. There was actually a school in Atlanta that she was going to attend in order to go through the training, and then we ended up moving, so that wasn't a possibility. But once again, you get all those wonderful things that God does. They ended up having a traveling trainer during COVID. And so my wife was actually able to get certified and trained in our family pool during COVID. So now we can give back to the community since that all worked out.
That's amazing. It's just simply amazing that a 6-month-old child can be taught to float itself to an edge and get itself safe in a pool environment. And what a tragedy. I'm trying to think, there was, I've read of more than one professional athlete or celebrity stardom who's lost a child in a tragedy of that nature. And that's just, it's hard for me to wrap my head around that. That's really neat.
It's the number one cause of death for children under 4, which is crazy to me. So
it is crazy. It is crazy. All right. Erica, you're last.
Well, I'm relatively new to the community that I'm in up here. So I kind of got my feet wet with some different things at work to begin with. Atkinson has a big heydays, they call it, town celebration. So we did different things at work, parades. And then from there, my biggest contribution with the community that I actually live in, which is about half hour away, a town of about 500 people, is I am wrapping up my first year of being on the board of the golf course. It's seasonal. there's not a ton of things to do out here, so you kind of have to get creative. And the country club and the golf course is kind of the center of getting to know people. It's how I got to know a lot of different people over in the community. So I felt when I got asked, it was only fitting to help support it and come up with fundraising ideas. We definitely have some things on the list that we're going to have to start updating, and being a seasonal business, money is kind of tight. So we've been doing some fun fundraisers lately, t-shirts, apparel. We've done some different themed food nights, and we all contribute and help cook. So that's kind of what I've been doing to get my start on being involved in the community up here.
All great stuff, guys, all great stuff. And the reason I centered on this topic is because, as leaders, you run a business, and you trust and motivate and align your employees. And one of the best ways to lead by example is giving back in some manner. And I think of in agricultural environments, Austin and Erica, you've got all kinds of opportunities to promote safety because of how difficult and how dangerous our operations are with heavy, fast, rotating equipment. Recall our friend Zach Johnson, and I don't know how many of you follow Zach, and he and Becky are just wrapped around the axle for busy because of the adversity they've had this year with weather at their farm. But Zach and Becky make a substantial financial contribution and also a time contribution to the fire departments in Minnesota for grain bin extraction with the materials and the devices they need to extract a operator or farm owner from a grain bin suffocation potential. And so you don't much think about that. I come from, again, likewise, a small community where the fire and the emergency protection is volunteer. And my brother-in-law, my wife's sister's husband, has been a volunteer fireman, in fact, chief of the fire department in his community. The things that they do to raise money for equipment, and you can imagine the fire apparatus are not cheap, and then to train on that equipment, because not every city is like Burlington, Vermont, where George lives, or Lexington, Kentucky, where I live, or Peoria, near where Caleb lives, where you've got those professional services that are paid for by your tax dollars. So it's important that part of the social life of the community is meeting for the safety events that the volunteer firemen do. All right, I was hoping she would join, but I'm going to, for our other coach, for Kaya, I want to share her story and what she does. It's equally as important and equally as emotional. Kaya contributes her time to the Special Olympics. And if any of you have been in a community where they have the Olympics, the Special Olympics for special needs children, volunteerism across the board, space and housing. I mean, the Special Olympics is nationally funded. It goes all the way down to a grassroots operation in every community. And George and I both happen to have worked for a gentleman who raised a special needs child. And that child at 49 years old is still in the home of our friend. And when Jay would compete, when I'd watch Jay compete in the Special Olympics, you just can't believe the smiles on the faces of those athletes that compete in that nature. And I know that brings a warmth to Kaya's heart when she does that. At MACKAYBEN, I'm going to remind you that here's the coaching team. So you've heard from George, and I'm speaking of Kaya. Chrissy's not with us today, but one of the things at MACKAYBEN, that when I started this network, this enterprise, I said that experienced agricultural mentors need to help young ag and food leaders have in the task of feeding the world. And I truly believe that. I spent a lot of time personally with the FFA, and next month I've been approached by the AFA, the Ag Futures of America, which is the collegiate arm. I don't know if you, Darcy at Brigham Young had a chapter of AFA on campus, or if they had members. I think there are as many as 100 university college campuses that have AFA. And in November, they'll have a conference where about 100 and I think as many as 170 companies will host upwards to 600 to 800 students from across the nation. And you can imagine this is a very fertile place for corporations to find their next interns. Let me go big on this. Mitchell, were you aware of it at Iowa State? Was that something that you saw on your campus?
I don't know that there was a campus deal, but I went to the AFA conference down in Kansas City at least once. But it's been multiple years now. I'm not sure exactly how they do it on campus, but it's still involved in that. I think I've spoken at some of their alumni events and stuff. They do webinar type things and meetup stuff for alumni.
I'm going to learn more about it. What they're putting together is what they call an executive ambassadors group. It's separate of their board, and as you can imagine, they will expect me to try and raise some money, and I've got some ideas of how that can happen. But just think about, I know that AGCO is a corporate contributor with a 5-digit number. You can contribute all the way down to a 1-digit number, I think. And what happens, the one place in Mitchell, I bet you get a chance to see them again, is that they have what they call a technology institute. And that technology institute runs in parallel with the Commodity Classic. So next March in Orlando, there will be probably 25 to 50 members of the AFA that will be present, talking about different aspects of technological research that they've undertaken. And what a great place to do that, Caleb. You know that environment, what that looks like. AGCO has used it for the launch of products. I think all of the OEMs do. And of course, across the entire spectrum, not just the iron guys and gals, but all of the seed trades technology, all of the fertilizer trade technologies, all of the commodity brokerages, anybody that's in delivering, cereal food to the market is going to be involved in commodities. So I hope that, in fact, when I know more about that, I'll probably put out an invite. If ever you want to take a 3-day business holiday, and Erica, we're probably going to do some MAC PDGs around that event in March. And it'd be a great place to enrich your studies or your work that you do with it. So that's my promotion for AFA. All right. Anybody else think of something while we're going to close this off? And I'm going to talk a little bit about trade shows. But before I do that, I'm going to let Mitchell talk to us about carbon and about what's going on in his universe. Any comments on contribution publicly? Good job. And no surprises there. Nobody in this group surprises me with what they do in their communities. I shared this shot with you earlier today, coming back from the Ohio Farm Science Review. And I'm sure, Mitchell, I'm looking at this big bloom, 1 metric ton of carbon. So give us an update on what you see happening in the carbon markets, what the uptake is, and things that you're seeing across the Corn Belt.
Yeah, uptake and progress from a farmer standpoint is incredibly slow. There's a new report going to be coming out from Farm Journal. They were doing a bunch of market research and surveys and whatnot. 93% of farmers are aware of carbon markets, and less than 3% are pursuing enrolling in one. Massive disconnect between awareness and action. A lot of that is there's a lot of unknowns. The dollars are not that great. There's a lot of uncertainty in who to team with, a lot of uncertainty around what am I actually committing to, And do we actually want to go down this route, and how do we do it? So been very slow. But the biggest update for this group being that just what, week and a half ago now, or right at a week ago, the USDA announced their climate smart commodity initial tranche of projects that they're awarding. And I don't know, in April or so, maybe late March, 1st of April, the USDA put out a call for grant projects, and they put out $1 billion price tag, $1 billion pool of funding, and said, give us some ideas. And the initial tranche of those projects was that you could apply for anywhere between $5 million up to $100 million in your
I
grant
recall
project.
that. I remember talking about that in the spring.
Yeah.
Yep.
So 5 to 100 million. And then they had another tranche that they closed on a couple weeks after, where you could apply for $250,000 up to $5 million. And there was $1 billion in the bucket, in the pool. There was $20 billion worth of applications that came in, over 400 companies, and we were one of them. And last week, they announced over $3 billion worth of projects just in tranche one. So I believe through the inflation bill, there was some money set aside within that to finance more of these projects, which I think is great. To if the government wants to do something to enable this, enable the free market to go and figure it out. You know, I love it. But $3 million already at least spoken for, and then they'll still announce. I'm anticipating another $250,000 or so, or $250 million or so in tranche number 2 with those that smaller pool of funding. Our grant did not get awarded, but we are named on Land O'Lakes' project, which is one of kind of the flagship projects, and they got a $90 million award. So I'm not sure how much of that money I'll see, if any, but I'm sure going to try to get me some. But big thing there, just to put a bow on it. A lot of companies, you know, that are kind of backpedaling away from it. We saw Indigo come to be the first one to market with some registry-backed credits, but it was way off of what anybody was anticipating. In my eyes, a pretty major failure.
Way low in their offer.
Way
Is
low.
that Yep.
Way low in terms of how many credits they actually got verified versus what everybody was anticipating and what the hype seemed like there would be. But they did it. They were the first ones. Good on them. And they got a big fancy balloon to show for it, so that's cool. But they got a long way to go, and so does the entire market. So pushing on that. Another quick thing, I was over in Europe 2 weeks ago, pitched at a conference over there, and an event on sustainable ag. What was one of my biggest takeaways to share with this group here is that at that event, a lot of the conversation was about how far advanced the U.S. is in terms of regenerative ag, carbon initiatives, and other sustainability initiatives, where usually the take here is talking about how far ahead Europe is when it comes to a sustainability focus and carbon initiatives and stuff like that. So I thought that was very conflicting, and that they think that we are really doing good and are way ahead, and over here we think that they are significantly further ahead. But I guess neither one of us are.
Caleb, be
very far.
prepared, and Cam, be prepared. I'm going to have you weigh in a minute, but I want to take off on that thought, Mitchell. In my travel to Europe with AGCO, the international company, and others, Kloss before that, the one thing that Europe appears to have an earlier advantage on is compressed natural gas and the development of debris and garbage and that they would recycle into energy. And in one case, they used the compressed natural gas to power motors that would power a generator to put electricity back in the grid. George and I, just 2 months ago, were at a dealer, a New Holland dealer in Indiana that's into solar and wind, both as renewables, and they power their dealership 100% on natural energies, renewable energies. So you're right. We're seeing, it's the tip of the iceberg. We're just, people are nibbling around the edges, but we're a long way from immersed in what we're going to do here in this area. So Caleb, from your point of view and what is, and I was going to suspect, Caleb, if you tell us and you can't, what's behind the curtain at Tremont and what you guys are working on for energy sources, it's pretty astounding.
Yeah, so I would say when we look at sustainability within precision planting itself, that really ties back to the radical agronomics approach. So we just launched Radical Agronomics. It's a new soil sampling approach and soil lab. We're taking more of a position of as we can drive sustainability through lowering inputs, making sure that farmers are making wiser decisions in their fields. When it comes to our own operation, I would say we're kind of at that tip of the iceberg as well. We brought solar in. Solar runs our operation as far as everything except for the grain handling system. And then as far as when we look at carbon and the approach going forward, I would just echo what Mitchell said. And I'm not well immersed into it, but our family has looked at it. It's to a point where it's, who do we trust? Is the dollars right? And right now they aren't. And how can we continue to learn and make the best decisions possible for our operation as this becomes more apparent? We're also making some changes into our operation as well and how we approach. I mean, we've been 100% conventional till for the 4 generations that we've been a part of, and now we're taking different approaches so we can learn and understand how we can better approach our tillage practices, as we know that there more than likely will be regulations coming down the pipeline, maybe not in the near future, but in the future, so we can just be better prepared for that for our operation.
2 questions. Number one, I remember when I went to your farm, Caleb, I remember the solar. What year did you do it? And at that time, if you'd share with us, what percentage of it did you get any kind of reimbursement help from government sources? Was there any at that time, or did you do that 100% on Slater Farms?
No, there were tax credits. I don't remember the exact percentage of tax credits. We gave all that to Grandpa. It would have been in 2019. 2019 was installation.
Not long ago. Not that long ago. All right. Well, I want to ask you if you have an opinion on this, Cam, but also while you do that, introduce the project you're on now and the study, the research you're doing on biologicals in the marketplace at the same time. So I'm going to give you a chance for a bit of a commercial.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So really quick on the solar stuff, I will say that discussion's hitting home here in Ohio. There is kind of a multi-pronged debate depending on how you want to sit on it, because a lot of people believe or are mad that these solar companies are coming in and taking off production agriculture land in exchange for these solar farms, and that's rubbing communities a certain way. I got the other side that's like, hey, free market, it's my land, I need to do what I need to do. I think that could be its own whole debate, but I'll just say that is something we're hearing a lot about. Generally, I'm pro solar, but I think we got to protect farmland too. That's my 2 cents on that. But to Russ's point around biologicals and carbon. So like I mentioned at the beginning, we do market research, and we have a number of companies that we support, including Indigo and Pivot and Meristem and a bunch of others that have these biological products. And while they've been more common in other specialty markets, there's a renewed energy in the row crop space. And we had a lot of chatter about how people might feel about it, but not any data. And so our firm decided that we would put out an annual study around farmers' perceptions of biologicals. And we're not here to say we've got the answer. We're just here to listen to farmers and share that data back with our partners in the community. So we're working with the Fertilizer Institute and the Ag Retailers Association to help bring that to market. And we've got 9 sponsor partners. We're about halfway done with the qualitative now, and we'll do a large survey at the end of the year to hopefully get a reading on how farmers feel about biologicals. And as it ties back to this, some of them can have, beyond agronomic value, obviously can play a role in carbon sequestration. So I think it's a fascinating part of our world, and I love it because it's just things we need to continue to learn and listen to folks more about. So
I've got a guess. I've got a guess. And just as Mitchell gave us statistics about the awareness of carbon sequestration and the adaptation, that gap of 93% to 3%, I think you're going to find a similar gap between, maybe a little narrower, about what they know about biologicals and what it can do for my ROI if I deploy a biological. So your research is going to be very important. I've got a test question for you guys. See, if you've got a scrap of paper next to your desk, write down your answer. But with land and land change, how much land goes out of production because of urban sprawl in a year? So, we've got, by the way, farmland, if you've read your magazines of late, farmland across the Corn Belt is set new 36% increase in farmland values across 4 states, Wyoming, Nebraska, South Dakota, and Iowa over this last summer. But how much land goes out of use every year because of urban sprawl? Mitchell, you've been to a lot of conventions. You may have this number on the tip of your tongue. You know what the number is? May have stepped away. Caleb, anybody, somebody venture a guess?
Nah, sorry, I'm here. My internet's just not very good. I don't know what, I forget what, if it's like something like 1 million acres every year or something wild like that. I forget.
This will go. I'll give you a number you can remember. 175 acres an hour. In the time that we've talked here today, there's 175 acres of production ag that's no longer in ag production because of urban sprawl. 175 acres an hour. Now, I don't know if that's 24 hours a day. It's probably not. It's probably an 8 to 10 hour day. But I did an interview this last Monday with Ken Root from, him, Mitchell, from Central Iowa, past WHO guy, Oklahoma State graduate. And Ken's done a really nice job for agriculture, just like Orion and Max have done. But I was doing some research and kind of preparation because he was asking me about tomorrow. What's the machine you're going to do tomorrow? What's the farm tomorrow going to be? What's the dealer tomorrow is going to be? And I said, well, lonely without me. I mean, my day, I don't have the number of days in front of me that the rest of you have, but I looked up that number, and 90 miles away from me here in Lexington, Kentucky, is a company called App Harvest. And App Harvest is 60 acres of greenhouse under roof. So if we lose this land, and this is why the research you're doing, Cam, is so important. This is why the seed genetics that Bex is doing for you, Caleb, is so important. That land's lost. We got to produce more with the land we have. And you've probably all seen vertical ag, where people are going vertical in greenhouses and trying to create layers. This greenhouse, 60 acres under roof at Moorhead, Kentucky, this year will produce 22,000 tons of beef stock tomatoes. And if you draw a string 10 hours away from Moorhead, Kentucky, and circle it, you'll catch the cities of New York and Detroit and Chicago and St. Louis and Nashville, Knoxville, Atlanta. In 10 hours time, they can take a salad out of Moorhead, Kentucky, and take it to any of those urban areas. So there's a lot of smart people out there doing really smart stuff. But this notion of how ag is going to change is a big one. All right, Mitchell, I had another question, I think, that had your name on it too. Let's take a look here. Carbon sequestration. All right, you've been to a lot of trades. Ag tech innovation.
Hey, check this out. Look at this. What's coming on the highway?
What is it? It looks like a big black combine to me.
Yeah, it's going. That's where I'm going tomorrow. They're just taking it to a demo, so that's my plan for tomorrow.
By the way, Fred, when I was a kid, we called those Opus. Those were Opus combines. Now you guys put the name Ideal on them. I mean, just because the name Perfect wasn't available, you used Ideal?
Yep.
I guess so. All right, Mitchell, what are you seeing as you're running around technology, Mitchell? That's our last question of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I think definitely I'm within, more and more automation. I think the the data and remote sensing kind of stuff continues to be big. Seeing a lot of interesting things happening within blockchain and traceability type stuff too. I'm definitely really interested in that. But you know, I think that data connectivity is just going to be big, and being able to not only get the work done and doing it autonomously and being able to scale things up with less people, but being able to show that the impact and tell that story as well. So that's main stuff there. But interesting to see, you know, I think overall, a lot of industries are seeing less capital going into startups and stuff like that. But it seems like in agriculture, I don't know that we are seeing as much of the slowdown as other industries are, but just my
I
hot
think to the
take.
contrary, I think George and I are seeing to the contrary, Mitchell, that there's money sitting on the sidelines that's just waiting for a place to spend it in the food delivery channel somewhere. They recognize, you know, with bigger population, land going out of productivity. They know that we have to have productivity. One of the things I dropped in the email early this morning was a picture of a drone. George has talked to one of our clients in Louisiana who's just taken on a drone franchise. And if you can't pull stuff through it, then you still need to put stuff on it. And this particular dealer is going to do, I don't know if the booms are 20-foot booms, but one of the limiting factors in drones, of course, is the size. And the size is dictated by the liquid load or the dry load. And I've watched, Mitchell, at your place, what Rantizo has done with whether it be cover crop seed application or spray application. So as that becomes to be perfected, I think you're going to see more and more aerial application. I'm in the process of researching and looking for the next class of 2023 for our group. And one of the things that's caught my eye is a group that's working on autonomy and autonomous vehicles and what they're trying to do. Caleb is aware of what the Fent Corporation has done with what we call Swarm. We have a small vehicle called Xavier, which is kind of like a Hoover vacuum cleaner. And I think George and I have talked about this at length. The horsepower race is over. The width race is over. The ability to get 60-foot equipment down the road or to resale a class 11 combine, Austin, is kind of tough. You might be able to do those things in Purdue, Saskatchewan. But I think the Swarm or fleet or multiple unit, I'm going to say 8 to 12-foot pieces of equipment, kind of like DOT, like the Raven acquisition of DOT, those types of things are what we're going to see in the future. And while I'm not
Hey, Russ,
yes,
that boom is that Billy is talking about. It's a 30-foot boom on a drone, and it's and he says the days of crop dusting are over. So, you know, think about the limitation to your point right now of equipment going down the road or the width race. Lots of stuff is going to be in the air, and there's already dealers delivering parts by drones as well. So a whole bunch of new stuff coming, but that drone sprayer is really interesting.
great contribution, George. Before I send out this video and share with you for the others to watch later, I'll find out the name of that franchise and include it on our information. But this is one of George and I's clients that we've worked with, and a real energetic guy and cutting edge. If something's going to be done new or different, Billy's going to do it. So we'll share that with you. All right, we're at the top of the hour, past our time. Darcy, first impression. These guys crazy?
No, I think it's really good information and it helps you stay up to date with things that are going on within the industry, and I enjoyed it. So thank you for having me.
George and I know people in high places. We're going to try and work in the boardroom down there at Duluth and find you a career. You're too valuable of an asset to let go somewhere else. All right, Austin, your turn.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm off mute. I was just gonna pipe in too. It's kind of like the Fent Xavier. I know we were at some Fent meetings and they showed that little Xavier that goes around and you let your swarm out and it goes planting row by row. comes back, refills, recharges, and goes back out. So when you mentioned that
Yep,
sprayer, that's
yep.
what I kind of thought of as well.
Yeah, the issue with that is what does it do in a rough terrain? You know, and
How does it apply downforce?
yeah, that's
Don't have the
here
weight.
comes precision planning coming in now.
Yeah.
Caleb, what would you like to share as we wrap up here, friend?
Overall, I mean, it's I would say if you get the opportunity, I don't know if you've seen it, Russ, but Radical Agronomics is worth checking out. That is a plug for precision planting, but it's an amazing piece of technology. It's something that I think we are at the tip of the iceberg for from precision planting. It's very much like when we released the first 2020, providing better vision to growers. Now we're looking at that from a soil sampling side. And then other than that, I'm getting ready to take care of 2 kids. And I also added a link in the chat for the NextAt. You were talking about the DOT system. I don't know if you've seen the NextAt or if the individuals on this call have seen it, but it is a unique approach to not only controlled traffic approach to farming, but also autonomy and how they're going to approach the wider the wider arms race for equipment while still maintaining road width. So it's a neat product. I don't think they have.
Is that the one that goes down the road endways and turns? You know
Yes, sir.
Our friend Phil Needham saw that working kind of in a gantry form in England a decade ago.
Yeah.
And the big thing is durability to it. But yeah, I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
The only reason I really like is
do we have a name for this new arrival?
What was that?
We have a name for this new arrival tonight, or you're going to
Oh,
wait and
we
share it
do, but we
tomorrow?
aren't telling anybody. I get shot if I tell it now. I've held it a secret for 9 months. If I said it now, I'd be in trouble.
Right answer. Right answer. All right, Erica, how about you? Anything you'd like to share before we go away?
No, interesting conversation today. That's not really my wheelhouse, but always interesting to learn and stay up to date on it. So yeah.
These guys are good. These guys are great. Cam?
I dropped it in the chat. Just talking ag technology. One of our clients just was awarded a patent for something in the space. It's a pretty neat little tool. Basically, most biologicals don't work because they arrive at the farm or on the soil dead. And they found a new way to package them separately of everything, so that way it all lives happy and separate until you're ready to use it. Then you drop it and you go, and it increases the likelihood of delivering everything alive. So pretty cool stuff. It'll be available next year. And
Is that the little 3-nozzle thing I saw when I was in Ohio?
Yeah. It's they're pretty proud of it. It's all come together really quick, and I do think it's going to change the game. So
Kind of reminded me of the bottom side of a dairy cow.
You know that it got called a mama pig yesterday in a dealer meeting.
Mama pig.
Because they can actually, it is nice. So you can co-pack everything, so you don't have to re-register anything with the EPA each time. So you can put up to 9 different, call them ingredients, whatever you want, in there. And so yes, the more complex they get, the more things you want added.
Tell Rob that Green's already got a name for it. I saw your hand up there, Austin. What do you got?
I was just gonna say quickly, I didn't flip my camera when a green X9 went by. one just rolled. The farmer drove right by me. I was gonna flip
Good
it
for you.
around. Then
All right, George,
figure it
close us
out.
off, friend. George, you might be on mute.
I'm just pulling into our farm, so great to hear all the great ideas and the passion and the ideas. It's really fulfilling. So thank you all for your contributions here.
All right, don't be surprised if I give you a recess in October because of the harvest. I know pulling you people away from your work and your heart's love, it's probably not a very smart thing on my part. So we might take a recess until the week of Thanksgiving and come back together when we get a crowd. But you guys fulfill me with what you're trying to do and how you're trying to go about it. Safety, think of safety, big moving equipment, high powered shafts turning all the time. Make sure you're working in a fresh manner and you're not tired out there when you go to the shop. And Caleb, there'll always be another day to harvest, man. Just remember that.
It's National Farm Safety Week, if people didn't know that.
Well, thank you, Eric. That's a nice knowledge. All right. You'll have a video in your box tomorrow morning and I'll share it with the rest of the team. Be safe. Thank you.
Take care, y'all.
Yeah.
See you guys.
Bye, thank you.
Thanks, Russ.